Then regarding Cade's injury, it is not good, not positive. I was suspicious of that the other night. He's got an ACL injury, so it's going to have to be repaired, and he'll be out for the season.
Well, Deacon Hill obviously has some big shoes to fill with the absence of McNamara for the rest of the season due to that ACL injury. That's kind of like you, though, Aiden. You have to step in. You have some big shoes to fill for Max being gone this week.
Yeah, Michael, the stakes might be a little bit lower, but big shoes to fill nonetheless.
Agree to disagree about the stakes. This is a big deal. But one thing I do have to mention, Deacon Hill, a lot bigger of a quarterback than Cade McNamara is in size. You kind of on the other side of the coin there. Not quite the same size as Max Von Greaves.
No, Michael, Max has got some height on me. I'm only about 5'8", 5'9", but 6'3" on a good day.
Well, we hope to see some more good days here in the future. But hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Daily Iowans weekly pregame show and your number one source for Hawkeye sports. I'm Michael Merrick.
And I'm Aiden Wirtz, and today we're going to break down everything you need to know before the kickoff.
Now, Aiden, we kind of already touched on it already. Cade McNamara is done for the rest of the season with that ACL injury. That's the biggest storyline coming out of this Michigan State game. And, Deacon Hill now, he has to be QB1 for the rest of the year.
Yeah, Michael, it's always tough when you lose that guy at the helm of the ship, but obviously Deacon proved he can step up and get the job done for the Hawkeyes. He's got one Big Ten win under his belt. Looking for a second one here heading into homecoming weekend.
Yeah, and as we have seen, Deacon likes to push the ball down the field. He had those big completions to Eric all early in the game, led to the one touchdown he had, but, there is two sides of that as he did throw a bad interception, I would say.
He did, Michael, and there's been some drops throughout the game, obviously, but we've seen from Deacon, he said that he can play water polo. He's played it before. That's why he can huck the ball so far, so he's not going to be afraid to do that come the rest of the season.
Yeah, and that was a little bit of a snooze fest there in Michigan State. It was locked up for a long time until Super Duper Cooper had that amazing punt return touchdown.
Michael, it just seems like number 3's got an endless bag of utilities. He can use them on the defensive side of the ball and punt return. He just can get the job done anywhere he goes.
Yeah, he definitely can, and it'll be interesting to see how he will bounce back from that Michigan State game also and head into this matchup versus Purdue. So now let's bring in DITV sports reporter AJ Reister. AJ, two things. First off, I guess I have to compliment you for retaining the Kickoff championship. But secondly, how are the Hawkeyes feeling heading into this homecoming matchup against Purdue?
Well, Michael, you mentioned the big bounce-back win to Michigan State, going how I predicted it to go, obviously. Iowa now prepares for Purdue with new QB1 Deacon Hill. He's, of course, excited, but his teammates are also excited to see the big guy get his chance leading the offense.
I just say the biggest thing for him right now working in is just his confidence and believing in himself, because I know everybody else believes in him, so it's just about him going out there and trusting his fundamentals, his keys, and things like that.
It should be an interesting game to watch, especially with trophy games like Wisconsin and Minnesota looming over the next few weeks. Now let's take a quick look at some other big games in the Big Ten. Starting off with number 4 Ohio State is taking on the red-hot and undefeated Maryland Terrapins. Tua's younger brother, Taulia Tagovailoa, has been a workhorse for the Terps through 5 games this season, throwing for over 1,400 yards and 13 touchdowns, and last week defeated Indiana 44-17. Maryland has scored 38 points or more in every game so far, but they got the Buckeyes this weekend, who are coming off a bye week after their thrilling victory over Notre Dame. We'll see if the Bucs come out of the break as strong as when they went into it. Ohio State is a 20-point favorite in this one. And another game to keep an eye on this weekend, the Rutgers Scarlet Knights are traveling to Madison, Wisconsin to take on the Badgers in Camp Randall. The Knights, after holding Michigan to 32 points 2 weeks ago, crushed Wagner last weekend 52-3. and look to go into Wisconsin and upset the 3-1 Badgers, who are coming off their biggest win of the season, a 38-17 butt whooping on Purdue. Wisco is a 13-point favorite in this one. And now the biggest game outside the Big Ten has to be the Red River rivalry between number 12 Oklahoma Sooners and the number 3 ranked Texas Longhorns. The Sooners took care of the Cyclones last weekend in a 50-20 blowout and look to keep the momentum going when they travel to Austin, Texas to take on the Longhorns, who just beat former number 24 Kansas 40-14. Sooners are 6.5-point dogs in this one. That's a look around the college slate. What games are you guys most excited for?
Yeah, AJ, those are some great picks there, but Missouri versus LSU is one that I'm really looking forward to. Missouri they're undefeated this season. They're looking to get a 6th win on their resume. Obviously, number 23 versus 21. It's going to be a battle of the SEC Tigers.
Yeah, that is for sure. Love to see a matchup between two different type of cats. They're the same cat even. And the Wildcats of Kentucky, they're going to be taking on the number 1 ranked Georgia Bulldogs. And that's my matchup to watch this week. Georgia hasn't really looked as impressive as they have in years past. They're not as great in the trenches as they used to be. So this is definitely a Georgia team that could get got during this season. But now it's time for the Hawkeye highlight, and we're going to start it with a fresh face. So let's bring in DITV sports reporter Vivian Samoski to start us off. Vivian, first off, how are you doing? Glad to have you on the show. And second, who's your Hawkeye highlight this week?
Hi, Michael. I'm doing great, and I'm so excited to be on the show today. And now we're talking about a Hawkeye highlight. We've already talked about him before, but it's Deacon Hill. You know, we've talked about it, we've touched on it a little bit, but Cade McNamara is out with a torn ACL injury, and now we know that Deacon Hill's got to step up, as which he did, and he did just enough during the Spartans game to get the win for the Hawkeyes.
For anyone who gets the opportunity to play in college, I think it's a blessing. For me, it's been an immense blessing. It's everything I've dreamed of. Obviously, I wish it would have came under different circumstances. I love Cade and wanted the best for him. But it's how football is. There's injuries. It's part of the game. So now it's just my turn, and I think I just got to keep working as like I have.
Before stepping into the Hawkeyes football program, Hill played for the Wisconsin Badgers and redshirted in 2021. He played just 1 game in 2022, and after a lack of production along with the Badgers head coach Paul Price being fired, Hill decided to enter the transfer portal right before the 2023 season. Hill was rated by 24/7 Sports as the 47th best available quarterback in the transfer portal. Even as a backup quarterback, Hill played against Utah State and Michigan State and has a posted stat line of 15 for 35 for 164 passing yards, with 1 touchdown and 1 interception. Hill did step up and practice with the ones in the offseason when Cade went down on Kids Day. And being listed at 6'3" and nearly 260 pounds, Hill has the build to be a strong QB, but it'll be interesting because he has 1 week, but will it be enough for him to prepare for the Boilermakers?
We didn't have any time to think about it Saturday night, obviously, and thought that was one of the highlights of the game is the way the team just kept playing. Deacon stepped in and did a really nice job. And not a big surprise. We've seen great improvement with him the last 8 weeks, but Cade's missed a lot of practice time. I've referred to that. So that's helped him move forward a little bit. But, during the game, you certainly don't have time to reassess or think about it, and I don't think our guys really have done that since then.
And that's my Hawkeye highlight. Aiden, how about you?
Yeah, Vivian, that's a great pick. Obviously, Deacon will have a whole game to show off his stuff this weekend. I'll keep it nice and simple here, highlighting both the Big Ten Special Teams Player of the Week in Cooper DeJean and the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Week in Nick Jackson. Jackson just surpassed 400 total tackles in his career and recently forced a fumble against the Spartans this past weekend. At Virginia, he was second-team All-ACC and averaged 10.5 tackles per game, which ranked second in the ACC. He has meshed well with players, especially guys like Jay Higgins, who have played right beside him this season.
Yeah, it's easy for me to go out there knowing a dude next to me can play at a high level, and it just gives me confidence. I told him he's got about 330 more tackles on his belt than I do. I couldn't imagine having that many.
As for Cooper DeJean, the man just seems to have an endless skill set. Not only did number 3 get his first punt return touchdown of the season, but also his first interception. Last year, he had 5 total interceptions, 3 of which went for touchdowns, as well as 75 total tackles. The silent killer is a soon-to-be first-round pick with a great work ethic to go along with his in-game talent.
Really good players don't look like they're grinding or working that hard out there, but they are. Everything he does just seems to be, it's like it's almost instinctive or natural to him.
So when you see him out there on Saturday making big plays, like you kind of expect it at this point.
Yeah, Michael Coop's a great guy on and off the field. And speaking about off the field things, we have all heard about the Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce relationship, which I just really can't seem to shake off.
Yeah, I'm a big Chiefs fan, and I always love hearing all this stuff about Kelce. Obviously, there's a little bit with Taylor Swift, too. And this is such a big deal that me and you actually went around and asked all the Hawkeye football players at media availability, are you a Swiftie?
I do not listen to Taylor Swift, and I'm not no Swiftie.
I'm gonna be honest with you, I can't tell you one Taylor Swift song, but I know who she is, and I don't think that makes me a Swiftie, but actually Cooper may know a couple of songs too. Cooper might be a Swiftie.
Okay.
Cooper might be a Swiftie. You gotta ask him.
I'm not really a Taylor Swift person, to be honest. I hate to say it.
I'm sure she's a nice girl, but you know, the only song I can think of is, I think it's called 22. That's like an old song. That's the only song I can recall. So I'm not a huge Taylor Swift fan.
I feel like if I say yeah, it help my media, right? Like help my self-image. Like I don't know. Like she's got some good songs. Like I don't know. I listen to Rod Wave. I just stay in my lane. But good for Kelsey.
I mean, I'm not a huge Taylor Swift fan, but you know, I appreciate her music, I guess, and yeah, I don't know. I guess that's all I'll say about that.
I don't know about a Swiftie. I'm more of a Katy Perry guy. Fun fact, she went to high school in Santa Barbara. So I'm more of a Katy Perry guy, if I'm being honest.
It's actually funny to say that. I'm a humongous Swiftie. I love all her songs. I'd be jamming out with Taylor Swift sometimes on my rides to the facility and afterwards. So yeah, I'm all for that. I like Wildest Dreams. I like Style. 22. I mean, I could keep going, but those are probably my three.
Now, Aiden, I don't know if everyone was being completely fearless with their answers, because I don't think there's just one Swiftie on this team, but luckily they'll never, ever, ever have to answer another T-Swift question from me.
Yeah, Michael, I feel like the same. Drew said he jams it out in his car, and he's got to have carpools sometimes. I bet you other guys are also jamming along to some T-Swizzle from time to time.
No, definitely. And, you know, I might be too. Keep that on the low. But now it's time for the breakdown. This week, the Hawks are taking on a struggling Purdue team. And while the Boilermakers usually play Iowa tough, this is a new head coach and a new quarterback. So this isn't the same squad that came and ruined homecoming a few years ago when the Hawkeyes were number 2 in the nation. Let's start off with the new quarterback, Hudson Card. Card is a Texas transfer, and he's made his impact early. Card is currently 2nd in the Big Ten in passing yards and is also in the top half of quarterbacks in efficiency rating.
This is not me hating on Aiden O'Connell, but I think, you know, the guy right now, he can run a little bit more, maybe than and they use him in the quarterback run game a little bit. So he's mobile. That's something we're gonna have to focus on. So it'll be a good challenge for us.
Another player to look out for, well, there's a familiar face to some Iowa fans, as it's former Hawkeye wideout Tyrone Tracy. Tracy transferred last year, but didn't see a ton of on-the-field time with Purdue, but now he's moved to running back, and he's coming off of 2 great games. It's a 2-game stretch where he's averaging about 100 yards per game. Tracy is always a threat for that big play, as right now he is 4th in the Big Ten in yards per carry.
Yeah, me and Tyrone had a decent amount of battles while we were here. Very shifty, you know, and he's strong as well. He has a good center of gravity. But overall, just a great player and playmaker, and I believe he's doing that over there in Purdue as well.
He's a good player. I wasn't around him, you know, a whole lot, but I do know that he's a really good football player. Really shifty. He ran good routes. Good with the ball in his hands. So.
And moving on to that Boilermaker defense, this is definitely a group that can get after the quarterback. And with Iowa's shaky O-line play this year, that'll be a big factor. Right now, Purdue ranks 2nd in the Big Ten in sacks, but this is a team that can get beat by that big play, as right now they allow the 2nd most yards per game and the 2nd most points per game to opponents.
They're a very high motor defense. You know, they have some experience on the defensive line. You know, they're rushing 5 quite a bit of the time. But, you know, they're definitely high-wired, high-motored. They have some guys who've played a lot of reps, so, you know, they're going to bring their best.
But now, Aiden, it's time. It's the best time. It's prediction time. Obviously, we got a little bit of a different lineup here today, but I hope everyone is taking this very, very, very seriously. And I meant all 3 of those varies. That's how important these predictions are. And AJ, since you're the reigning and defending kickoff champion, why don't you just kick things off with your prediction?
Well, guys, I know Max isn't here, but Michael, 2 weeks in a row, you better be paying attention to what I'm talking about. Y'all talked a lot about taking the belt back last week. And last I checked, I still got it. For my player to watch this weekend, I've got Xavier Nwankpa. Hudson Card has been prone to the interceptions as of lately, throwing 2 against Wisconsin. He was clean last week against Illinois, but expect the Iowa secondary to have a field day and Nwankpa to get his 2nd interception of the season. For the score, I've got the Hawks winning a close one, 14-13. Deacon Hill gets the job done, and the defense gets a pick 6 in this one as well. Vivian, how do you expect this one to turn out?
AJ, I mean, the battle between the Hawkeyes and the Boilermakers right now, it's going to be something to watch, but I got a good feeling about this new QB walking in. So my player to watch is Deacon Hill. With impressive accuracy and a strong arm, making him a dynamic presence on the field, starting at 6'3" and 260 pounds, once again, people have said that this gives him the advantage to utilize on QB sneaks. Hill has limited time playing on the field at Kinnick, but he has showed great promise in practice. I know that he has the ability to be a strong asset for this team, and what AJ said earlier, Deacon will get the job done. I'm riding with the Hawkeyes in this game, and for their homecoming victory, I'm going 24-21, and while their home advantage is playing at Kinnick, I think this is going to help them a lot with the energy in the field and the fans. But, I mean, Aiden, what about you?
Yeah, Vivian, that's a great pick right there, but I'm also feeling really good about Iowa coming off their first Big Ten victory. I think they're about to get their second. With Jazz being out, Kamari Moulton has stepped up huge in the backfield, and he is one heck of a runner. He gets super vertical, super quick, mirroring an Isaiah Pacheco type of run style, and just punishing the ground beneath him. With him and LaShawn to dominate the ground game, and Deacon's big arm to lead the offensive charge, I think the offense will have their most combined yards in the game all season. I'm taking Iowa to win this homecoming matchup versus the Boilermakers 27-13. Michael, you're last up for the predictions. What have you got in mind for the Hawks this weekend?
Well, I think I'm going to stick kind of similarly to the rest of you guys. You know, maybe some people will call us homers, but, you know, that's not for me to decide. But got to give you credit. You know, you brought it in your return episode for sure. But for me, my player to watch, I'm going to stay on that offensive side of the ball, and I'm going with Connecticut's own Deontay Vines. Last week, Vines showed flashes, but he did also struggle. Vines posted a career high in yards last week, and I expect him to build off of that big performance against the Boilermakers. He did have a few drops against Michigan State, though, so keep your eye out for that. But watch out for that hoss who can toss, Deacon Hill, to find his new favorite perimeter target in this one, and that'll be Deontay Vines. For my game prediction, I got Iowa winning it. What a surprising pick, I know. But I do have it being another close game in Kinnick, and now that we've already detailed a new staff and quarterback at Purdue, sometimes you're playing that logo on the helmet more than you are the players on the field. Purdue always plays Iowa close, so I got Iowa taking it in this one, but it's going to be 27-20 in a close one. While I don't think that Iowa defense is going to give up 20 points, not so certain that the Iowa offense will play a perfect game on their side of the ball, and Purdue's defense might find the end zone.
Yeah, Michael, you're absolutely correct. Purdue always plays Iowa close, and it's always kind of tough to be an Iowa fan when we're playing the Boilermakers, but we're hoping to get back on the high horse against them this year.
Yeah, definitely. You know, last time we played Purdue at home, that was the infamous David Bell game where, you know, they collectively broke the hearts of every single Iowa fan. As that Hawkeye team was number 2 in the country before that loss. So, you know, every Iowa fan's probably hoping that we're right and the Hawks get that win. So thank you, Vivian, thank you, AJ, and thank you for tuning in to another edition of Before the Kickoff.
Be sure to check out the dailyiowan.com and the YouTube page for all your latest news on Hawkeye sports. From the University of Iowa, I'm Aiden Wirtz.
I'm Michael Merrick, and have a wonderful weekend of football, everyone.